Joining us now in Studio B is longtime BYU play-by-play man Dave McCann. And Dave, we were just talking during the break, like the way that BYU lost the game to Oregon certainly leaves a bad taste in the collective mouths of
unlike a Cougar
people across Cougar Nation. Yes, well played.
Yeah, not if it has that maple stuff on it.
You're not a maple guy.
You're not a maple guy?
I'm never even going there. Not even trying it.
So are you a big? Are you the guy that is pining for like a chocolate?
I'm just
Cougar
saying
tail?
I will eat a Cougar tail if it's chocolate.
Okay.
That's it.
You want chocolate frosting?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, like a chocolate bar that's been around since the beginning of time. Just expand it, you know, multiply it by 5 times the size.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed. Having grown up, my dad was director of the Cougar Club for most all our life. And so many of the events were tied into getting people at the stadium, getting the alumni to leave their homes and go to the Rose Bowl or wherever. And so when they do it, it's such an awesome thing. I saw it in Vegas for years while working down there, when the Cougar fans would take over the place. But then when the product doesn't give them much to cheer for, you know, I always felt bad for my dad more than for myself or the team, because, well, they're working with the people. For the folks over there, that's it. BYU may not play in Oregon again. And so when they come out and converge, you just want to give them something. So I was disappointed about that. How was it when Rex caught his touchdown? Was it?
Yeah. I think that we were estimating around 8,000 BYU fans from across the stadium, which is pretty remarkable.
That's
the place holds
tremendous.
54. Like 8,000 BYU fans were there.
You know how annoyed we'd be if that happened at LaVell Edwards Stadium?
Super annoyed.
Because that's what BYU fans like.
Well, a lot of times the Utes get some folks in when they're all making the noise. It's like, who gave them those tickets?
What are you doing here? Yeah, exactly. No, I call it Mormon settlement theory. We show up, we annoy the locals, we got to move on.
Yeah, Oregon fans said it's only one other occasion they felt like there have been that many opposing fans in the stadium, and it was Nebraska when they played Nebraska 5 years ago.
Nebraska.
There was a big sea of red, and like they said their BYU's fans equaled that. So a unique scenario.
I remember
tough to lay an egg like that.
I remember when BYU came to Vegas, Brandon Doman was the quarterback. They were ranked 20th, I think.
0-1.
And their dad's 4th and 4. BYU's behind. The UNLV folks be like the biggest win ever. There were tons of BYU fans in there. And Doman made a play to Mike Rigel, and then he took the next play and ran it like 25 yards. I was down on the sideline, and I remember when Doman went inside the 5 to go in the end zone, the thunderous roar from the BYU crowd it turned me around. And that's where I really got you know what, on the road, BYU can take over places. And they took over that stadium. I just remember that feeling. And so during game day, when you were showing the contingent of BYU fans, I thought, you can really punch someone in the gut by putting 10,000 people into their stadium. But the common denominator is the team's got to give them something.
Sure. And Oregon's a great team, too.
Yes, yeah. So let's talk about that, because there's a few things at play. One, Oregon's good. Autzen is top 10 tough
Better
stadium.
than we thought they were. Right?
And we let them off the hook.
We did.
Yeah. And BYU is very good, Dave. Yeah. So where do you start with the concern of what we hope is an anomaly versus maybe a trend?
I think the next 2 games they should run the football. If they don't run the football against Wyoming and Utah State, there's a problem. I don't think you can make that judgment on Baylor. South Florida they ran, everyone ran. But Baylor was tough and Oregon's tough. And upsets happen. It wasn't an upset. Oregon was favored to win, and then the way they won it was upsetting.
Yes,
but it wasn't an upset. I saw a stat yesterday. After 32 NFL games, 16 favorites won, 16 underdogs won.
How about that?
Now, do you think every team that lost to an underdog is thinking, we've done it all wrong, we got to change everything? Or do they just go out in week 3 and go, let's do our thing and get to 2-1? So we've had 2 case studies of positive and a case study of negative. So the real midterm exam is Notre Dame and Arkansas. These next 2 games, I think, are to get it right. There's some margin for error. You can work through some kicking woes against Wyoming and Utah State. Still got to play good to win. But it's not, the game shouldn't come down to a field goal, these next 2 games. So these 2 are, I think, the indicators. Can we play smash mouth football like we have done? Will we do that against Wyoming? I believe that offensive line, I interviewed Clark Barrington yesterday. I believe they're going to come out agitated.
I would hope so.
6'5" and 300 and something pounds and agitated is how we beat Baylor. That's how we lost, 6'5", 305, Unagitated is how we got beat by Oregon.
That's how Spence comes out every show. Agitated. Just ready to go.
And agitation,
every show.
Agitation has a number of, there's a number of elements to agitation. Focus, determination, embarrassment. You know, I'm an NFL potential player. I'm going to go play to my potential. All those things. And when Oregon plays Baylor, if they play in Waco, Baylor wins. Baylor plays Oregon in Eugene, Oregon wins. Baylor played here, BYU won. BYU played there, Oregon won.
Let's play neutral.
We're talking about top 25 programs.
Yep.
And I was glad to see BYU stay in the top 20. I think they deserve to stay in the top 20, and they could back that up Saturday. Or if they come out and kick it around and barely win, then they don't deserve to be in the top 20. But I was glad the national media didn't kick them right out.
Sure.
The only good news about the Oregon game to me was that BYU stayed in the top 20. Because those 2 late touchdowns when BYU's down by 31 keep you in the top 20. If BYU doesn't, maybe scores 1 touchdown but not 2, I think BYU's like 22nd or 23rd.
We're kind of
bugged. That mattered a little bit in that was the only moral victory was, stayed top 20.
When you get outplayed, outpositioned, everything that Kalani said and Bywater said, everyone. When that happens, as an observer, I only played 1 year of Little League football, so Blaine and David will be the experts tonight and after further review. But as an observer, when you get pounded like that, we didn't all walk away going, no, there's 10 different things we choked to not win that game. That's painful. Think of all the Utah-BYU rivalry you were just talking about. The doink on the field goal, the miss that. That's what makes those games painful. We still remember them. When you just get soundly defeated, you're going, okay, we got to play better against these guys. And then we have physical challenges coming up. Notre Dame, Arkansas, and Boise State will be a physical challenge, and Stanford and all that. But the springboard is we get through these next 2 games. Then you got Notre Dame and Arkansas as redemption games, the same way Oregon used our game. Arkansas here will be a tough game for BYU. It can be a very tough game for Arkansas.
Oh, it will be. And I think we've pointed out the fact that Arkansas gets BYU at the end of just a gauntlet.
Right.
That begins with Texas A&M this week, hosting Alabama, at Mississippi State. Then they got to travel to Provo after that at the end of that 4-game slate. That is tough sledding for Arkansas. And they got to deal with the electric home crowd in Provo.
Yep.
You look at the schedule. If BYU is a legitimate top 20 team, and again, how they respond Saturday will tell us that. The road back into the top 10 and a New Year's Six Bowl is right out in front of them. The Oregon loss doesn't kill you if you beat Notre Dame and Arkansas. You got to go to Liberty. I mean, you still have to play good football. There's forever left in the season.
Yeah.
But all is not lost. The BYU's not going to the championship playoff. You know what?
Oh, no.
There's only 4 teams that are going. We already know who they are. Disappointment for everybody. It was fun while it lasted. But the opportunity to go where we've never been is still right there. Just how do they respond to getting their rear ends kicked?
Yeah, and it's tough because there's only one at-large with the Cotton and Peach being in the playoff this year. This is the worst year to have a great team for BYU, unfortunately. But if we had said, hey, BYU's 2-1, top 23 games, we would have been happy preseason. And if you're going to lose a game, is this not the game to lose? That and perhaps Notre Dame in Vegas?
BYU was not supposed to win the game, according to Vegas.
We just got excited because BYU beat Baylor.
Well, that's what fans do. That's why that's why this show exists. And it's why on Saturday, people fill Lavelle Edwards Stadium again, and they'll tune in because it's what we love. And a neighbor was bemoaning the game to me yesterday. I go, you'll feel better on Saturday. Because that's how we do it. You know, it's like a big glass of grape Kool-Aid on a hot day. After you lose, you just feel better when your team plays and you win. Michigan's 3-0. Awesome. They beat UConn, they beat Hawaii, and somebody else all at home. High school teams by Michigan standards. But they're 3-0, ranked number 4, and they're feeling great. Do they know anything about themselves? Probably not. BYU knows a lot about itself after 3 games against 2 top 25 teams, and South Florida, which had Florida beat in the swamp on Saturday, and then at the end they were just South Florida.
Oh, those directional schools at the G5 level, Jerome.
It's easy to beat Florida. That's Kentucky.
Yeah, ask Tennessee this week. Florida's not that good.
Dave, maybe it's just a coincidence, but the last 4 BYU losses have all been in the afternoon.
Well, well, well.
It's very interesting. Now, are you buying into BYU not being ready to play an afternoon game for whatever reason, or is it just a coincidence in your mind?
Well, who are the teams? Or
UAB.
UAB.
Okay. Baylor. Boise State at home, and now Oregon.
Boise State was inexcusable. We fumbled 3 times in that game. Hadn't fumbled 3 times in a year and a half.
UAB feels to a degree inexcusable.
Yep.
UAB is inexcusable, even with our backups.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe there's something to that. There was the rain element in the Boise and UAB game. It didn't affect their team, but for some reason it affected BYU. Did BYU look over Boise State because Baylor was the following week? That kind of happens sometimes, as we figure. But, yeah, afternoon games haven't been great. I don't know why, because they're great for the announcers.
Yes,
they're
they
great for
are.
the crew because we don't have to stay up till 2 in the morning. Maybe that's a thing, but a lot of our games are played at 8:15 at night, and especially at home.
Yep.
Including this weekend against Wyoming.
And then next week's a Thursday night. Prepare yourself for a weird situation there.
That's going to be kind of cool, though, because it's prime time on ESPN. The NFL game's on Prime, whatever. You got to go find that. And when they booked that, they expected the Aggies to play like the defending Mountain West Conference champions. The UNLV's probably going to beat them this week. And so that's a different kind of game, but it's a great stage for BYU to remind everyone they beat Baylor.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, it's to remind everyone they beat Baylor because they were 9th. And then your next big reminder is, hey, we beat Notre Dame in Vegas, if they can do that.
Dave, great to have you with us. Big show and after further review.
That's coming up tonight, 7 Eastern time. Watch it on the BYUtv app as Dave breaks down his Little League experience. No, I'm just kidding. Tonight, 7 Eastern on the BYUtv app.